Meeting to order at 3:03. And are there any changes on the agenda that need to be changed that you know of? Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Efficiency-based.
I was gonna update on that.
Okay.
I said I would go talk
Yeah.
to the principals. And I did. And they kind of looked at me and said, you know, there's a few things going on with the state reorg, and, there would need to be some good teacher prep if we were gonna get a fine tooth grained, proficiency-based graduation requirement. I showed them the BSBA and the Maple Run one, and they just said, you know, if there's any way that could be put on hold for a bit, for us to figure out, we're doing a whole bunch of reporting things. One of the things that's getting announced as school starts here is we finally started to align. We've aligned the math and literacy and SEL for all the pre-K for the first time. They're going to the same report card that they've never had. So we have a bunch more work to do on alignment. So they asked if we could hold, not be somewhere this year, but not right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
We're putting it on hold.
yeah, so we just put on hold and come back to it at some point. I'll keep up with making it easy.
Okay.
Okay.
The student club policy, you're gonna have lawyers take a look at that?
Yeah, so there's a memo in here from Mark McDermott. He works for PHO in Illinois, or Blackman and Tui, about it. He really suggests staying with the PSBA model policy. He talks about if we were to call out one religion, that we would need to call out all of them. It's hard to have them encompass the list.
Okay.
So he just said he'd recommend us stay as close as we could to the BSBA and reminds us that. And I actually think because they work for Visbit, they're one of the attorneys that does that review, not the only attorney that does that. We usually get all the school attorneys to look at it as well.
Right. I have no problem with that. So if we go with the VSBA model policy, we'll bring that before the board, full board on our next one, or just Joanne and they'll have to be here too.
I would suggest you have everybody here in September.
Okay. And depending on when that meeting is, I'm gonna be Zoom.
Okay, well, we can figure that out.
Here, A21, public participation on board meetings. I believe that's yours.
Okay, so if you have the Maple Run one in front of you, I'll point out, sorry, I could have brought you highlighted marked ones, but, so having them side by side, the top section, policy and background, are the same. We start to deviate at implementation. So if you're looking at the Maple Run one, the first, from line 12 to 15, that is in Maple Run only. From 15 down to 18, it's the same as the BSBA. So this one just includes additional language around providing comments that are respectful, that orders maintained, public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established. So that's additional language there. And then persons who may address the board is exactly the same except for in on line 23, but number 3, it says individuals who have been requested by the superintendent, and Maple Runs includes principal in addition to the superintendent and board. So that's a little bit more broad. Okay, bear with me on this. The next part, the last part, public comment on agenda items. So the VSBA breaks it into items on the agenda and not on the agenda. The Maple Run one does not. It includes a lot more language than the Maple Run policy. Everything from under public comment is pretty much in Maple Run only, with the exception of a portion of number 5 and all of number 7. So I guess it's up to this committee. So looking at this, it just really outlines a lot more around public, what the public can say, and the board giving additional time. So all of those are additional, and then the chair having the right to shut down or cut short anything that's disrespectful or inflammatory in there. I think the Maple Run policy is fine. I don't know that we need to go as short as the VSBA one, but I just wanted to highlight for this group in any discussion that we want to have that the Maple Run policy has a lot more to it than the VSBA. I don't know if there's a reason for that. I don't know why that might be. I'm guessing that the board had a reason for putting that in there, so just want to see if anyone has any thoughts.
I know that it's come up a couple of, well, we don't get people to come usually, but occasionally it has been, I know Nakuma was asking if people could ask during the meeting if questions pop up during the meetings, and they'd be able to ask questions.
Yeah, there is something in here that at the discretion of the board, additional time for visitors to address the board when an item comes up on the agenda. So it does allow for a little bit more flexibility in the Maple Run policy for it not to only happen during the public comment section. It also pretty much the VSBA one doesn't say anything about whether the board can respond to things. The Maple Run one does have information about whether the board can respond to questions, and I think that's up to every board, whether it's just comment and you don't say anything back, or whether you respond. This one does say that visitors should not expect that the board can engage, but it doesn't limit it. So that the board may decide to provide answers to specific questions at a later time, so, or in writing. Bill, do you have any idea as to why that there's a
Well,
lot of language?
I was not around 2016, but I can, from reading this and working with boards for a long time, I like the Maple Run because it's much more specific than
I agree.
the VSBA. It also kind of defines what a public meeting is versus a meeting of the public.
Mhm.
A public meeting is a meeting that's happened the public can observe and comment on,
Mhm.
but it's not a meeting of everyone in the room, it's a meeting of the board.
Correct.
That to me is, and I think that's a board decision, it has been in my whole career, is do you want everyone to participate throughout the meeting and talk? That to me is a public meeting. A meeting in the public is a meeting that the board's having, the board's doing the work, they allow the public to comment either before, after, or both, but don't let the public doesn't engage in a back and forth during the meeting.
Mhm.
And open meeting law is very specific about, and that's why we have like different types of meetings. When you have a school district meeting, that's a meeting of the public.
Mhm.
Instead of a
Yeah.
board meeting when it's in the public. And those two prepositions for me are really powerful.
Yeah.
And I've seen I've worked with both types of boards. And to me, that's a board decision. I think you get, I have biases for that, so I'm trying to keep those at bay and break it down.
I think this one allows for flexibility for the board to respond if it wants to, but isn't an expectation, that it doesn't create an open dialogue unless it makes sense, which makes me feel like I personally would recommend the Maple Run policy. I think it allows for some safeguards, but also allows for flexibility. And honestly, the VSBA one doesn't really say anything about whether the board can respond. So it doesn't create any opportunity for it to happen or not happen. I don't think there's anything in there that I would recommend taking out unless there's some history or something that has come up.
One of the good practices that happens a lot, is especially if a parent comes about an issue, and there's contact, I know just parent is like John was over, let's make sure I grab 90% of the time we have conversations. Yeah, make sure we have your addresses. So.
I think it also protects the board for items that aren't on the agenda to not engage and respond to those, because it does say that, that it prohibits from engaging in conversation on an item that's not listed on the legally warned agenda, so that you're not getting flooded at times. So, any other thoughts?
I'm fine with the Maple Run policy. I know, when I was on the select board, we would have public comment at the beginning and then at one other point during the meeting. And I kind of like that, because sometimes you think of something else you want to say, or you're running late, and it just gives you another opportunity. But that would be up to the board. If this policy doesn't say we can't do that, if we want to.
It doesn't,
So it gives us the freedom as it is.
right.
All right. So we kind of have to wait until we have a full board.
If this committee wanted to look at it and suggest going change it, if your suggestion is to do nothing, I think you can report to the board that we don't have any changes for you. If you thought maybe, does the board want to have this discussion, you could do that too, or ask that question.
I mean, my suggestion is to do nothing unless the board is interested in having more opportunity for public comment at various points during the meeting.
They'll bring that up when they see that.
Right.
Okay, so we'll bring it before the board.
Okay.
B8, item number 3.
So,
It's not fair.
and so that, I'm glad you said that actually, just because, and I should have been on top of this, but seeing this right now, H480, which is now Act 72, is gonna really change this policy. And because we've already been doing the work on the backside, because the board couldn't do this work so fast, but we have approved applications that can be used. And we're down to 3 that are monitored, and they have to store every message unedited from the original message format. So I'm gonna tell more to the board about that next week. So I would say let's hold on this. We're gonna have to look at redoing this policy, but I'm sure there'll be a new model on the SBA as well as a result of that legislation in June. Okay. So I'm glad you didn't do much on this, because it's gonna change.
And Bill's gonna do the C12, and he's not here.
Yeah.
We'll hold on that one. And then, E1, that's me.
Okay.
Yep. Title I, Part A, parental involvement. And all I did was, I took the current Maple Run policy and this VSBA policy and put them through chat, AI.
Yeah,
And all I did was give it directions to just make it more pointed, less wordy, but keep the same guts. So I don't think we really have to change anything.
all right.
It didn't change anything, it just cleaned it up a little bit. I kind of like using that. It can go on after.
The problem, one thing I'd have to look at is because this affects our federal grants, if we're able to change, because this, I hope the Maple Run one is, I know we had to do it a couple of years ago in an audit to make sure that it was exactly in alignment with the federal policy, which should be the model VSBA. Between the two.
Yeah, which it looks like, the last VSBA version was released in September of 21.
Yeah.
And this current version of MRUSD was adopted in October of 21.
Yeah.
So it looks like they looked at that.
I always remember I was the CNP coordinator, that's my second year being assistant superintendent, and I had to take on these duties that year. And I remember I had to push this to the board to say, hey, we gotta use this federal template. So if we ever get monitored, that's one of the first things that happen.
So we're in line with everything we need to be.
It looks like it.
According to VSBA.
Yeah, VSBA would say
Yeah.
on top of that for us.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, so that looks like we're done with the reviewing of the old policy reviews. New business, next steps.
And we got 2 suggestions.
Mhm.
So for September, we come back and just look at the VSBA student club policy. We're gonna have to be ready for electronic communications between employees and students, which is BO8, but we're gonna have to stay tuned for that. There also will be, by January 1st, I believe it is, a new cell phone policy that's required of banning bell-to-bell cell phones in schools, which is an update to our policy, which we already looked at. I can tell you that our schools are pretty much, they're gonna be pretty much there at the opening of school this year. The announcement's just starting to go out. And then, that takes care of a lot of the mandated policies. I think that was one of the tasks for this group, was to get all the required policies reviewed. We have some others that are here. And we have, and some of them we've updated that aren't, required, like the selection of library materials. So, I don't know if you want to look at some of the things that are still white.
To have it easier to be reviewed, I printed out 2 spreadsheets. So the one all in yellow is all of our policies. The one that's not has a whole bunch of yellow, and the ones that the subcommittee has not.
A lot of these, we don't have, there hasn't been a VISBA update since we approved it.
Yeah.
So, special ed.
Yeah, special education is one we could talk. I want to have Andrea Rissick really look at that, and many of our compliance monitoring is done by the Agency of Education.
F24, it looks like there's been an update after we adopted it.
So that would be good, but it'd also be good to want Brianne to help us out with that.
Yeah.
But I definitely should look at it and have her look at it as well.
Oh, I see, that's potentially out of date.
There might be the E21.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what just came through besides cell phones and the legislation that might impact any policies that are there. Is there anything, I'm just thinking like, there was some stuff on, well, I saw the school safety one, but then I was like, no, I think the school safety stuff was really related to,
There was
Doing,
there were a lot of tweaks to behavior threat assessment.
Yeah, that
We
was-
took care of that.
Okay,
And I don't
okay.
think it's really gonna hit the policy level, I think it's gonna be procedural.
yeah.
Aaron, you stay on top of that. but
I know, I was
you
just
should
trying to think
say
what
most of
was
that
in
stuff
there.
is procedural.
Well, the behavior threat assessment policy that was reviewed here last time and is going to the board on the next board meeting.
Yeah.
And we're still working on getting the procedures in place, but there is model procedures that we have to follow from the state, just we just need to get MRUSDs, which is the leadership team's job to do for the procedures.
Yeah, we did a pretty, Aaron and I in June did a pretty fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
480 because there's so much in there.
Right, yeah, I assume you
But
were
really,
on top
it
of
was
all this.
really about cell phones, social media, behavioral threat.
Yeah,
Was there might have been some word changing for library distribution, but didn't affect the policy.
perfect.
Some wording on virtual learning, flexible pathways. And cell phones and safety stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the virtual learning and flexible pathways was very minor, and there's no action that we have to do.
Good question. So we could add those three, we meet, probably September 8th. Is that everything? Because that's the second Monday. It's an early Monday. What's the first, is it my first? We can do that. So, yeah, we could probably get Andre and Brian to at least look at these two as well. And then for all of you to look at the non-school literature distribution. I can tell you right now that in all our schools, we have different methods and it's not very much different levels, but just different methods of non-school sponsored literature distribution.
Do you want us to look at that one, is that what you're saying?
Well, let's look at that, what the policy says, not
Okay.
necessarily the procedure.
Right.
Yeah. But once you start opening it up, it's like you can't judge, you just gotta give. You got different methods for distributing non-school versus school. But anybody that's not school, you gotta get the same.
Yeah.
treatment.
Definitely.
So that would give us with those three plus the two that are coming back from on the old business, that would give us 5 to look at next time.
So the proficiency-based graduation,
We're gonna put on hold.
Yeah.
The public participation at board meetings, we're current. The BOE, we're waiting for some more comment back. Oh, the student clubs, we're going to the VSBA policy, so we look at that next time. And we didn't have Bill here to do the Title IX. So those two plus the 3 will fit as well.
Yep.
Kind of talking about making sure it makes sense to me, so.
Yes,
I'll write it down.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any other business before the board? We are adjourned.